Okay, we're live. Great. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's only us who are crazy enough to be here in person, so everybody else is on Zoom. I'll start by asking to approve last month's minutes from January 27th. They were distributed. Everybody got a chance to take a look at them. So I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we will start with you, Rosie Clem. You weren't here, so we'll start with you, Rosie.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
excellent. Okay, then we will head first to our first case, which is Dunham 71 Havemeyer Road. And we have somebody. Yes, we do.
Hoping you can see me and hear me.
We can, thank you.
Excellent. So should I start doing something?
Yeah, why don't you dive right in? So you're
Okay.
looking for two variances here, right? No, sorry, just one.
Just
Just
one.
the coverage, just the coverage, sorry, yep.
Okay. And let's start the slideshow at the beginning. It's always a good spot. Slideshow. Okay, so I'm Patty Steinschneider from Gotham Design. We're working for the Dunhams.
Sorry, Patty, can you spell your name? Oh, never mind.
It's in the
I
corner.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got
that's a lot to ask with all this weather. Spelling that last thing can take it really out of you. So we're working for the Dunhams at this moment because they are selling the house to people who would like to do some work on it and make it be their home. And to save time and to get ready for a spring market, they agreed to allow us to proceed before the closing, which is at the end of March. We did work on this same house back in 2015 for the Dunhams and did a nice renovation that took the existing house and just brought it up to kind of a better standard, more accustomed to what people, what they're really looking for. But at this point, the house really didn't get any larger, and there is a need for some additional space for the family that's buying it. And we have worked up a solution which I think is good. We have been to the planning board now for 2 meetings. I think the main issue here is the variance itself. I think they're satisfied that while there's still issues to work out with drainage and things like that, the concept of the project seems sound. The reason that we need a variance for site coverage is because Irvington's got very unusual zoning rules. I think they make a lot of sense. I think they protect against overly large homes. It does a good job of maintaining the character of neighborhood. So we support it. At the same time, we realize that when we have very large parcels, it's almost like a diminishing returns. You could build a bigger house if you subdivided the property. So I'll walk you through what we're really dealing with here and see what you guys think.
Patty,
Yep.
Patty, you made that same argument the last time you were here.
And I had the same problem.
Yeah, are you prepared to back that up, though?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So here, I'm showing you the location of the property at this point. It's 115,000 square feet in a zoning district that allows 40,000 square foot for a single family home. And while there are a couple of other good sized properties, we're about 30,000 square feet bigger than our next largest. And we are in a neighborhood that, while it requires 40,000, I think the zoning probably changed at some point, and there are parcels in the area that are around 30,000 square feet for the property. We've looked at this from a number of different ways, which is all numbers, and I'll walk you through those. What I'm showing you right now is the house. The house is actually this kind of greenish tinted piece right here. If you compare that house, say, to the neighbors on either side, this house, so it's on the largest property, is actually significantly smaller than those. It's more the scale of the house that's up here on Havemeyer. So it's not really the house itself that we're dealing with. It's the other improvements on the site For example, the stone walls and the way that parking's now being counted. So those are the two things that have really pushed us over the lines. This is the form the village has us fill out, which makes all the calculations for us, which is really convenient. So here what we're seeing is that we're proposing 8,786, and I'll talk about that number in a little bit because I think we're actually looking for 195 square feet less than that, but that's still being worked out. So we're looking for 8786 when the existing is 7273, and we are 963 square feet over what's permitted. They also, what are we greater than the existing? We're 1,513, 1,200 square feet of that is actually the house itself. So here's this area that we've defined as the neighborhood for the subject property. And we have,
Can I interrupt you just for a second?
Sure.
I want to make sure, since we're talking about numbers, which I love to talk about, right? On Zillow, this house is listed as 5,112 square feet. And you're proposing an addition that's going to add 1,200 square feet to the size of the house. I just want to make sure that I have that right.
Yeah, although I think that 5,000 square foot number is high. The town property card shows it about 1,000, a little bit more than 1,000 square feet smaller than that.
But
And I think that's
but
more accurate.
it is listed on Zillow at 5,112 square feet.
Yep.
Okay.
So here on this map, the subject property is number 18. And what we've done is we've looked at all the other houses in that neighborhood and we've listed them. The number on the left is the item going back to this, which, just is kind of numerical. We, mystery. We went kind of in the order of the numbers on the street. We looked at the lot area, the allowable coverage, the actual coverage, and the percent. Now, one thing I want to point out is that everything on here, we took, with the exception of the 71 Havermeyer, the subject property, everything on here comes from the property card. The property card only counts the house itself, any accessory structures on the property, and then some of the terraces or decks or things like that are included, not all of them. I didn't try and go to each property and find out what the numbers were, because when we went through the numbers, we actually found that I think we make our case just using what we actually know to be the factual numbers that come off the property card. Down below, you see 3 different numbers for 71 on the property card that we have from the town, adding in the 1,200 square feet. Our actual coverage would be which is for the house, would be 4,378. Counting the way Irvington calculates the area, it's 7,468, and what we're proposing is 8,786. This is coverage, not square footage. We're fine. FAR, we're like 60% of what we're permitted, so it doesn't have an issue with that. Down below on the bottom here, go here. So I've already made the point about the property card. By the property card, we're significantly smaller than most of the others relative in percentage. Here's looking at the lot area. 71 is the largest. There's properties that go down into the 30,000 square feet. So this is a big piece of property in the neighborhood. The next category we did was the actual coverage. And we have the highest coverage in the neighborhood. The next is the percentage of coverage that we have to the size of the lot. So with the proposed, we're at 7.60% coverage, which is in the lower third of all the properties in the neighborhood. Obviously, some of these where you're seeing 18%, 14%, those are, lots that are smaller than what we're dealing with, even though the actual coverage is less than ours as well. Proportionately, this house has, the lower third, of coverage in the neighborhood. Here is showing the ranking. If we go down to the property card numbers, which really makes it an apples to apples comparison, we're at 3.79% coverage. So relative to our neighbors, this is a much more open, there's a lot more square footage open on this site than any of these other properties. Proportionately, we're relatively small compared to the others. Here, I don't know why. Oh, this one just is showing what those averages are. The average in the neighborhood is a 9.68%. If I use our proposed, which is counting everything on the site, we're at 7.60. So we using the form in the village, just summarizes those numbers. 7273 is existing. We're proposing 1513 of coverage, not square footage. And that brings us to the total of 8786. We're allowed 7823. So we are requesting 963 square feet over what the limit is, which is a 12.3% difference. Again, it's important. It isn't the size of the house that's doing this, and I'll walk you through that. Here are some photographs of the existing house. It's really a cottage, farmhouse, that's got a fabulous piece of property. It's really not a large house. For the most part, it's kind of an attic of second floor space with, first floor living. There was an addition built in, I think, around 2005, which is this back piece. When we worked on this in 2015, we didn't enlarge it. And here's a model of showing what we're proposing to do. This piece is the existing. Here's what we're adding to the side, creating a new entrance gallery between the addition and the house. So we kind of break that up a little bit. It gives us a fun space too, which is a roof deck that you can come out onto. This is effectively a one-level living, although we've counted the basement space because we're more than 50% usable space above grade. So we just counted the whole basement of what we're building in the FAR, as I said, which is significantly under what we're permitted to be. So these just show kind of how we've kept the concept of the house and made it, I think, a nice addition that kind of does some fun things. Here's where I want to start making some other points. These are stone walls on the property. There are a lot of stone walls on this property. And these are dry stone walls, which if you're thinking about anything in terms of impacts on the environment, these are actually very friendly things. They reduce stormwater runoff. They are not dams. They allow water to flow. These are things that Irvington respects enough that you've actually got a condition in your code that if we wanted to start tearing out stone walls, we'd have to get special permission for it. Some of these walls are not this one, but some of the other walls are probably dating from the 1800s. Reason I bring it up is that when I'm looking at 963 square feet is what we're over, we've got 1,048 square feet of existing stone walls. So it's one of the things, there's no requirement we keep most of those. Most of them are relatively decorative, but I think it would be sinful to do that because I think they're really a great character to it. And I don't think there's no impact we're having with this project that's imposing either environmental impacts or view loss or anything like that on any of our neighbors. So I think this makes everything we're doing, makes pretty good sense. Here's just showing kind of the site plan, what we're doing. This is the existing house. Here's the addition that we're putting on. There's an existing terrace behind the house, which we've actually reduced in size, mainly because I wanted to pitch it away from the house towards the existing stone wall, which we've kind of reconfigured here, because this is forming a dam as the hillside goes up. Water comes down that. I wanted to pick that up in a garden and be able to bring that out to our storm drainage system. Let's see, I don't think, there's a better one that'll show it in a minute. The other thing I want to point out is we're being required to include the parking spaces on the driveway. In my experience with Irvington, driveways don't count in the coverage, but because we're allowing enough space for two cars to park with cars being able to drive past, we're required to include that square footage. We're also providing, since this is really not a great place to park in front of the house. We're providing a little bit more of a screened area here with 3 parking spaces opposite the house. That's also counting into our square footage. If I go back to that total back here, somewhere, yeah, here. No, actually, it's after. I'm sorry. It's this one here. In addition to the 1,048 square feet of stone walls, we also have 984 square feet of proposed parking. If we didn't propose that parking, if we eliminated that and people just parked on the driveway, we wouldn't be over in coverage. It's a kind of unusual thing, but it's the way Irvington does it, and we're not going to argue with that. These other drawings are just showing the effort we're going with preserving the site, erosion protection, a robust drainage system that's actually picking up driveway area that's not currently picked up, as well as handling all the water on the house with a known system. Right now, we don't know where the pipes in the ground go. And then just to walk you through really quickly what the house would be added. Here's the basement. We have a crawl space. We have a basement area that has windows. The front portion of this is enough above. These are legitimate windows to bring in light. Here's the main floor of the house addition. It's got a bathroom, a closet, a sleeping area, and a sitting room off a new staircase. And this is the new entrance that we prepared, we proposed with some closets, a little bit easier place for kids to take their boots and all that kind of stuff off. The only thing we're doing on the second floor is we're having the stair come up to a roof deck, so that the piece between the new structure and the existing is usable as an outside space, which I think is just fun. So quick elevations, just showing kind of how we're tying certain things across. We're compliant with everything. And then our landscaping plan, which is very robust, really trying to do much more than simply make up for 3 smallish trees. They count as trees in the coverage or in the tree requirements, but they're not large trees. Those are being lost because they're right in this area where we're building. So we were required to provide an equal amount of circumference of tree, or diameter, I forget which. But we're way over that. We're really looking to kind of make the island in the middle a little bit more of a defined space, have some more interest with trees, and use landscaping that doesn't require watering. That's just kind of enhances this large space in front of the house. This photo, I think, gives you a pretty good sense of what the context of this is. This is the nearest neighbor. There's 2 houses that are near the existing house. This is the one that's closest to the west, and then you can kind of see the one back up the hill that's to the northeast of the house. But we're basically talking about filling in this gap right over here. And I think I've probably given you more information than you wanted to hear. But if there's any questions, let me know.
So, Patty, you characterize the house as a cottage, but it has 6 bedrooms, doesn't it?
The existing house, including the first floor study, has 6.
Right. Okay, that seems bigger than a cottage to me.
It's cottage, there are Newport cottages. Which are
All right, it's a Newport cottage.
yeah. So I didn't mean cottage as it's not a little house, but it's also not a big house. 6 bedrooms can be very different from one house to another. The bedrooms on the second floor, 2 of them are really small bedrooms. They're great that they have them. But it's not something, it really is not a large house. The most dramatic space in the house is the living room. You got a dining room, kitchen, and, family sitting area. And then you have this little study off to the side. I count that as the other bedroom. We've got a bathroom that's adjacent to it and a closet. When we were doing the house for the Dunhams, this was for a family member who had difficulty with stairs, and they'd be able to come and stay and have, 1 level living. So it's, what we're adding is, kind of a really nice master bedroom suite.
I used a different measure of central tendency. I used the median, right? And you're proposing on the biggest lot coverage in your reference group to be double the median, right? It seems out of character to me with the rest of the neighborhood. I mean, it's a big ask in my opinion, right? And I just feel like the character of the neighborhood is defined by the characteristics of the neighborhood, and you're taking the biggest lot coverage example and making it bigger. And I have a hard time getting behind that.
Okay, even though that the real reason that we're over in it is because of things like stone walls and parking areas. I mean, that's 2,000 square feet of our
I
number.
get it. I get it. But I believe that the people who wrote the zoning code would have been smart enough and articulate enough to specify that those things should not be included when we do these types of assessments.
Well, I think you misspoke. You said they should be included because those are
I
included.
think they would have told us not to include that if in the lot coverage calculation, if they didn't want it counted.
Oh, okay, right.
Right.
It was intentional that it's counted.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think, the purpose of the code, particularly in that section of Irvington, is to preserve the open space as much as possible. It's beautiful bucolic area, right? And not to be overrun, with driveways and walls and things like that. I mean, that's my interpretation of that particular area. I mean, it's beautiful over there.
It is. It's a fabulous piece of property.
And, I appreciate the salesmanship, but this house is listed as a 5,000 square foot house. That is nobody's definition of not a big house. It just isn't. And it's a big house, and you want to add really quite a large addition to what is already a big house. I do think it's out of character with the neighborhood as well. That's sort of my take, having seen that neighborhood. I'm not sure you couldn't take a second look at that and come up with something a little more modest.
I think I know the needs that the family has with the number of people in the family. It's not a huge family, but 7 people. It's something that they've got a really good understanding of what they're looking for, and they want a master bedroom suite that's got those things. That's really what we're adding. And as I said, the house, there's nothing about the house in height, square footage, or anything else that's close to the limit. So we're not dealing, if we were pushing it with the floor area ratio, I'd have I think your point would be, it would be more impact on me, because I'd be saying, yeah, this is a big house. I understand 5,000, I've lived in the Rivertowns too long, and I describe 5,000 as not large. I mean, we've designed houses that are 1,200 square feet.
But not in this
big.
neighborhood, all right?
Right.
And that's what we're, I'm sorry, I'm probably not speaking close enough to the microphone. Not in this neighborhood. I mean, not even close to it in this neighborhood.
Well, the other houses in the neighborhood are as large, if not larger, than this house. If I go back to that map, this house that's up here is probably twice the square footage of what we're dealing with. The house that's up here on the hill is a very good size house. So since we weren't really dealing with floor area ratio, I didn't put those numbers together. But this is not, with the addition, this house is not as large as maybe half the houses in the neighborhood. This is not larger than the other houses.
Right. And I agree with you that you're not here for a FAR variance, right? But the addition is driving the lot coverage variance.
Yes, that's what
Patty,
Yeah, go ahead.
guys, on the property card, the existing building is shown 2899, and then an accessory building 491
Yes.
should be 3390. So it would be a 44% increase, which is, it's like a whole nother house, right? Being added on.
We're adding 1,200 square feet.
Yeah,
And that includes that 1,200 square feet includes the basement.
1,290, the proposed coverage.
Yeah.
1,291.
Yep.
And is the accessory building that root cellar?
No, the root cellar actually, in the unique way things work in Irvington, does not count. It's got a grass roof. The wall on the root cellar does count.
Okay.
So we included the front brick wall on it. This was all with confirmation with both Han Engineering and with Ed Marin. How we're supposed to deal with that. So the root cellar, which really, I mean, this isn't a thing that's being called a root cellar into something else. This is a real root cellar.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's really cool. And again, it's not something we'd want to lose. I think it's a fabulous character of the house. That little square in the back here, that used to be a garage. But the driveway to it has been, I shouldn't say it's really been removed. There's still a dirt path that you could drive up to it, but it's not used for cars. I think this is a really beautiful backyard. Having cars come into this, I think, would just be silly. So that was one of the reasons we were looking to do the parking out here in front. I mean, that parking in front is, it's, I think it would be nice, but that's probably the first thing that we would cut in this equation. It's not required. We've got plenty of parking space on the driveway, and the driveway doesn't count, whereas the parking space does count.
And where's the patio that's being removed? 764?
Yeah, that was what I was showing on the plan at one point. The area back here, this is all coming out, and this all come all the way back to the wall. We've cut a lot of that out so that the area behind the house, let's see if I can get to, right here. This area along here is now opened up, and and this whole area here was all paved before. So I want to have that be porous, not have it be paved, so that we don't have a problem with water building up back behind here. I mean, if we had the snow we just had, my concern here would be I'd be creating a swimming pool behind the house at grade with the existing doors that come into the house. So it's I'd be looking for a flood problem. So our goal is to get this so that it pitches out, it's smaller, has less runoff, and the garden itself actually acts as a rain garden. So the water pitches into that. That's got its own fill of gravel so that the pipes that are in that and the yard drains pick that water up, and it comes around and then ties into the storm drainage system that we're proposing in front of the house.
Anybody else have any questions? Patty, can you take me through, for the neighborhood, where you would be in terms of over allowable versus comparable properties, neighborhood properties?
Well, very few of the properties actually in the neighborhood comply with I mean, some of them do, but these properties that are 11.2, 13.5, the 11.2, those are exceeding, what they're supposed to have, or actually, or right on the verge of it.
Right. The
Yeah.
11.2, it says actual coverage is 4585 and allowable is 4838. It's not over. It's under.
Right, but also none of their other stuff is being counted in these numbers. Their parking's not being counted. If they have stone walls on their property, if they have terraces, that's not being counted in theirs, whereas it is counted in ours. The only property on this list that's got the stone walls, the parking included, some of them do have the terraces included, but most of them, if they've got if it's something off from that, if it's not attached to the house, it's not counted in their coverage. So what I have seen of the houses, I think that they, where I'm looking at 4585 and my allowable is 4838, just the parking that they've got on the site brings them up over the number. I think, in my opinion, obviously, and it might not be the majority opinion, but when I look at the percentages, that to me is how I'm really getting an understanding of it. You know, the size of coverage on this house is 18.37% of the site. Its actual coverage is 6,722, which is not including some of the things we're including. And we're looking for 8,786, which is 2,000 square feet more than that. It's 36 and, 36,590 of lot area, and we're 115,565 of it. If I compare it on the property card, we're at 3.79%. Without, forget all the property card stuff, counting everything, we're at 7.6. 7.6, if you look at where that is on the chart, these 12 houses have more coverage relative to their lot than these 6, and we're in that lower 6. I think I have a different concern if it was the house itself that was pushing this, but the house relative to the other houses and relative to many other houses actually in Irvington, you don't drive up there and say, wow, this is a really big house. This isn't, similar to some of the other houses that we've worked on. It was the Havemeyer farmhouse.
Right.
Built, I think, in the late 1700s, early 1800s.
So Patty, look, you've done a very good job with the numbers. Right? But the fact of the matter is, you're saying, don't look at the zoning code.
Right.
Right? You're saying, don't look at the zoning code, right? Which actually does penalize larger lots. Don't look somewhere else. Don't look at the zoning code. Here's a new statistic that I'm going to give you that I think shows that this is in character with the neighborhood. Right? But the zoning code has a different rule.
I agree with what you just said.
Okay.
The only thing that I think tweaks it just a bit is the percentage is, the village does use the percentage. That's what they actually work towards. You start this whole thing with, you're allowed 12% of the first 40,000 square feet, and then you're allowed 4% for any square footage that's above the 40,000 square feet. So the village has used percentage as its means of determining whether you're in compliance or not. The challenge is, as you get bigger and bigger and bigger with the property, the 4%, it has a much greater impact the larger the house is relative to the 12%. It's not something that it doesn't take a curve. It basically, it's at a line and then it drops to a much lower line. And if I look at these percentages, these houses have a lot more coverage for the size of their lot, a lot more than what we're proposing.
But isn't part of the reasoning behind the what you're describing is that we do not want huge houses, even if they are on huge lots? It's placing some kind of a limit. Yes. On the bulk of houses that can be built in Irvington. And this seems, so you can't just look at the percentage and compare, apples and oranges.
Again, I agree. I understand that. And if what we were looking at was the house being what's really pushing it, if we were not including the parking, which is what we're adding, these numbers would be very, very different.
Well, but the fact is, it is the house or the addition that you're proposing that adds bulk in terms of the appearance, the perception. Yeah. I understand that for calculating coverage, a lot of things count that aren't just house. Right. But this rendering, yes. This is a large addition just visually. Yeah. And the fact that you have, which again, we always appreciate that you've reduced some other areas of coverage, doesn't alter that at all. Especially, it seems like any other coverage that you are eliminating is at grade and does not add to the overall bulk.
But he's not here for a variance on that.
Yeah, the house.
That's true. That's true.
And I guess the reason I didn't anticipate that being a primary concern is that the FAR on this is, I mean, we're low
Okay.
on the FAR. We're at like 60% of permitted or something.
Yeah, so the bulk of the house is not the issue. The issue is all the other coverage that,
Right.
right, ensues as a result of that, or the existing coverage that is, you feel, you're making the argument, is penalizing you for building a house that is otherwise okay in terms of code.
So, yeah, let me ask you this, Patty. So
Sure.
you want a variance for coverage. You want more coverage than you are allowed
Correct.
under the code, right?
Yep.
How many people in that neighborhood are over coverage and by how much percentage wise? So you want a certain percent over. How many people in that neighborhood are over coverage and how do their numbers compare to you in terms of the percentage that you want over?
Right. Well, the numbers that I gave you demonstrate that for the most part, most of them are, I mean, these two are, they're over coverage.
I'm only seeing 4 that are over coverage in quite
Right.
a large neighborhood.
Right.
And
And
so how much are they over their percentage
Um,
that they're allowed? And compare that to how much you want to be over percentage allowed, because
Okay.
that makes it an easier comparison than this, which is in a way not really comparing apples to apples because you're talking about different sized lots and the percentage that's covered. I want to know how much those, the ones that are over, how much are they over by
Okay.
percentage wise,
so,
and how much that and how that compares to what you're asking. Because I think that's a clearer, at least from the way I look at it, that's a clearer way of understanding what you're trying to do here.
right. The first one is 15, it comes out 153, so it's 53%
Yeah.
over what's permitted.
Right.
Yep.
I said, you're right in the middle of the 5 houses, you would be ranked third.
Let's see, 51, 51. This next one down is 35% over. And then the 5506 divided by 4820. That one would be 14% over. The next one is under. Again, not to belabor it, but I'm obviously belaboring it, not including a lot of the stuff that we've included on our property. I mean, I could probably get, the last thing in the world I want to do, like, first I'll say the last thing in the world I'd like to do is go and bother people to see what else they've got on their property, if they'd even want to let me see. But I'm also not sure how soon the snow's going to melt when I'll be able to actually see that. There are, let's say that a third, or I guess, what is it, 20%, 25%, are more over than we are. And then we're a little bit more by being over than some of the others that are kind of right on. So, we're the percent that we're over 12, whatever that, I forget what 12 point, what it was. There's another point here that I want to make. We haven't yet gotten it confirmed by Han, but our numbers are less than their numbers by 195 square feet. So we're actually at 9.8% that I think we're over. And that's with the parking that we're proposing, which is, I'd say that's the most negotiable thing we have. I would rather reduce the parking than to tell them that they have to make what I think would be, in reality, not in concept, but in reality, would be kind of ceremonial cuts in the, like, how big you have to take a foot off your bathroom, make the bedroom 2 feet smaller, something like that. We're still not going to get, we're going to get from 1,200 square feet. Maybe we get it down to 900 square feet, take 300 square feet off. That still doesn't really solve, the kind of number that we're over by the things like the stone walls and the parking, which are 1,000 square feet by each one by themselves.
So if you took out the parking, would you need a variance?
No.
Seems like the solution is obvious.
Yeah. I mean, I guess here's my problem. you're taking a neighborhood where most people are not over coverage, and your current house is not over coverage, and you want to take it to be one of the top three in terms of coverage in the neighbor, in a fairly, in a fairly large number, there are going to be two houses that are more over coverage than you. And part of our mandate as a board is to give the smallest number of variances and the most modest variances that we think you can still achieve some of what a reasonable balance between your needs and the character of the neighborhood.
That's your exact charge. I agree. It's you're not supposed to grant a variance that's not necessary.
Right.
So I understand that. The other thing that I, of course, go to is the idea that as the state defines it, we've got this balancing scale. And we're, the property owner to be would like to basically have certain things that would make their life nice, much nicer than a lot of other people's in the world, not necessarily much nicer than most of the people in Irvington. But it's are these things necessities? How many parking spaces do you need, particularly if you have a large driveway? It can be argued maybe none. You can get past each other. It's not a mandatory thing, but it is something that would be nice to have. If that gives them enjoyment, pleasure, and all this, I have to weigh that against the adverse impacts it's having on my neighbors, on the community. On the neighbors, I don't think they would know the difference if there were parking spaces on this site or not. They're going to see cars someplace, and if it's nicer looking and kind of controlled, and we've picked up the drainage and we've controlled that and we've screened it nicely with landscaping, I would not think that somebody would begrudge the fact that that was there. So I think there's, if those balancing scales are what we're using, there's really not much that we're putting on the side of what's negative, except for one that comes up every once in a while. And it's an awkward one to talk about because the whole concept of your zoning boards, any zoning board, is that they're not setting a precedent. They're basically looking at the individual situation and deciding, is this okay or is it not? And if it's not, then we're not going to approve it. The only place I think, what I've often heard as being the concern is if we let this happen here, then that will be used in the next time for somebody else to get something, and maybe that's not quite as nice. What I will say, though, is if I have ever tried to use that strategy, I am reminded very quickly by the zoning board that what somebody else has done on some other property has nothing to do with what we're dealing with here. So,
Patty,
it really isn't it?
Patty, the 594 square feet for
Yep.
the addition, can you just recap that again?
Yeah, that is, if I get to this
Sure, thanks.
site plan here, that what we've done right now, the driveway, if you can see my cursor moving?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is the line of the existing driveway. And what we've done is we've said, we're going to create a pull over here so they can park here. We have a wall that's, it's not a tall wall, but it's high enough that you're going to notice the wall more than you're going to notice cars from downslope. So that's the big parking area that we're doing. The other parking area is right along here, which is where the driveway widens out so that cars parked aren't impeding, say, a delivery truck coming by. The reality is you could park right here and somebody can get around or something. So I don't think they are asphalt deprived. There are a lot of places you could put a car. And it's curious. I mean, we called this out and they said, okay, well then you're creating parking. One of the things that's been one of the reasons I think we're 195 over technically, that we're not actually over, is we've included this whole thing because it made no sense to me that they were including the where did they go with that? They were saying that this piece right here, which was existing, didn't count, But this one that we were adding did count because we were actually, this already cuts off like that. It was kind of to pull over and then the car could go by. Well, that invariably becomes a parking space. So we were counting that. They didn't count that, but they did count this. So I've counted both where they're saying I only needed to count one, and that added 185 square feet to my coverage. So I think we're getting to the point where it's not really the the number that I gave for the 8,000. It's 195 square feet less than that. So it's like 8,005 instead of like 8,007 something.
Okay, so I'm happy to make a motion, or anybody else can make a motion if they want to. But I would kind of suggest that maybe you take a month to think about this, get your numbers 100% in order, and think about how much parking you really need. Because, look, I'm not worried about precedent. I really am not. There's
Right.
so many unique properties, and this is one of them in Irvington that it's hard to say what's a precedent and what isn't. But what we're charged with as a zoning board is to give as few variances as we have to, and to keep the character of the neighborhood very much in mind when we make these decisions. And when you look at this neighborhood, if you threw out the top property that's over coverage and the bottom, you would have no case for this. I mean,
Yeah.
it would just be one outlier that you would be hanging your hat on. And you want to take a property that's under coverage and bring it so that it's the third most over coverage in this neighborhood.
Actually, I think it would be the
I
fourth.
think that's hard, and third or fourth, fine. But I think it's hard to justify that, especially when I don't know that I can make the argument that you need like 7 or 8 parking spaces here. So, and especially ones that like a delivery truck could pass you, and I don't think is a very strong argument for this
yeah.
neighborhood. So I would suggest we boot this for a month and you come back to us with something that either has different numbers because you've resolved your questions with the engineers about what the actual numbers are, and maybe has a less parking spot or two, or whatever you want to do. I mean, it's you and your client, it's your decision on where you maybe trim something. But I think this is a tough ask for this neighborhood, is my opinion.
Okay. Give it the chance of being denied or having the chance to make
Yeah.
I definitely would
I
take
mean, I
the
can't
extra
tell you
money.
how everybody else would vote. I can just tell you that I have I don't know how everybody else would vote, but for me, this seems like it's taking a property to a place that's going to just be too much over coverage for this neighborhood.
Sure.
Okay.
I even if you were just asking if I'd be willing, the answer is absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's part of my responsibility. I don't want it to be more than it has to be. I don't want more paving.
Right.
This area is lots of hills. We have a lot of runoff. It's something I take very seriously, and the less paving I have, the better. The less parking. I have 2 very small parking spaces at my office and my house, and that's it. And people have to find someplace else to put a car. So not that you could find one easily here, because there's no.
Can't find any today. Yeah.
Yeah, but they got
Not a one to be had.
Oh man, today was brutal. Trying to go anywhere today was just nuts. So it's
why don't you come back
Yeah.
next month unless you find yourself not in need of a variance? How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay,
All right,
thank you,
guys.
I
Patty.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
You got it. All right, we will get on to our next case. Do we have somebody?
There was no one on the call. There was nobody in the week.
For neighbors? No. Okay, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
You want me to talk on?
Oh, you're on the next one too? No, I just.
We're looking for Racklin, 20 Willow.
I don't know, I'm fine. For the record.
All right, hang on, we're putting on video. There we go. All right, are we good now?
Yes, we are good.
Good.
Hello, how are you?
I'm glad to hear that. Hi, my name is Jim Mesker. I'm an architect. I'm representing Rebecca and Glenn Riegland at 20 Willow. We're looking to do what I use the term modest because I think on this side of the village, modest may be more appropriate. We're looking to do a small addition to their house, and I will start my Zoom right here. Okay, let's start there. All right, so we were before the planning board last month, and we were reviewed by Han Engineering, and we made some changes to what we presented originally to the planning board, having to do with clarifications in terms of coverage and FAR and how those are calculated. So I have revised all of those for your presentation. We are looking for two variances, one for coverage and one for FAR. We will not require a variance for any of the setbacks or for height. So we will get into some of the details. I'll go through the drawings very quickly to try and bring you up to speed on the project. So I put together a site planning and zoning piece here, and I have a blow up of that coming later so you could see where all of our actual setbacks are. We have a relatively modest house on a very modest piece of property. It's a typical 5,000 square foot piece of property. There is a separate garage on the back of the property here. Currently on the property, there is a rather large deck in the back, and you'll see that in another drawing. And we are looking to remove that deck, put on a small 2-story addition with a crawl space and reducing the size of the deck to about 1/3 of what it is right now. And as I get into the plans, I'll explain why we're looking to add this square footage. This will give you an idea of the other houses in the neighborhood. So this house here, 20 Willow, is the house we're talking about. And you can see it's in keeping with size of a lot of the other houses. There are houses across the street from them, which are slightly larger. Some of the houses on the adjoining blocks are slightly larger. This is the existing elevations and first floor plan of the house. This dotted line in here is the deck that we're looking to remove. And where you see the shading here, the hash marks, that will be the addition that we're looking to put on and the deck that we're looking to add back in to the property. These are the proposed floor plans. So we have the first floor plan, and I would like to talk about that for a little bit. This house originally was an incredibly small square house, and at some point, I believe back in the 70s, a modest addition was put on and variances were granted to that. And as an architect, I would say they did an unusual addition. They added this large entry to a small house, and it's really doesn't give any real usable space on the ground floor. They expanded the kitchen, which also was a small kitchen to start with. It's a slightly larger kitchen, but the living room has space for seating for about 3 or 4 people tops and a dining table for 6. Currently, the family is 2 adults and 2 children. What they were looking to add into this house was a family room where they could actually sit and watch a TV. And on the second floor to add a new primary bedroom and suite. So on the existing second floor, there was a small bedroom here and 2 modest-sized bedrooms here. There was only a half bathroom on the first floor and a full bath on the second floor. So 1 bath was being shared by all 4 family members. What we are looking to do is keep this as a 3-bedroom, but add a full bath into what was one of that small bedroom here. So the addition is, as you can see here, it's the interior 17 feet by 14 feet. And that would be the same size on both levels of the house.
Jim, this is basically over where the back patio is right now, right?
That is correct.
Sitting
All
right
of this is taking
yeah.
place in the back of the house.
Right, okay.
And you can see the footprint of the addition is shown over here from the basement plan. This is where the crawl space would be. So we looked at making this even smaller than what we had. And when we looked at it, we realized it was going to be impossible to fit a king-size bed into that bedroom. And it was something that the client really was interested in having. And of course, as the architect, I wanted to give that to them. And we made this bathroom really kind of as tight as we thought we could to give them a second full bath upstairs. To the family room, we really have a modest family room. We have seating for 5. We could probably squeeze a 6th person in there. So we try to make this as small as we possibly could, but large enough to actually satisfy the requirements for the addition that we were doing to the house. This may be the most telling drawing that I have, which is a little 3-dimensional axonometric. This little bump out in the back, and I use the term little because that's how I view this, is the addition that we're looking to add, and this is the size deck that we're looking to add. I'm not going to go through any of this except to say there's all the detail drawings. And up in the corner here, I did a wireframe addition of what that addition would look like. This is from the sidewalk. I have additional wireframes for the next planning board meeting. I did not have them in time for your meeting. If you would like to see them, I could find them and pull them up. But the only place you really see this addition is from the sidewalk in between the 2 houses, 20 and 24, I believe it is. And it does not affect anybody's view of the river whatsoever. I've blown that up so it's a little easier to see. Han has asked us to make sure we protect the trees and the bushes, and of course we will do all of that. And this is the blow up of the site plan to show you what the setbacks are. So there was a previous variance granted for this existing, for the new porch that was added back in the 70s. We're not changing anything in the front of the house. Here's our proposed 2-story addition and deck, and we comply with all of the setbacks. We're going from 54-foot setback in the backyard to 37 feet 7 inches. Our side yard setback on one side is 14 feet 9.5 inches. And on the other side, we're complying with that 10-foot setback. And that's why this deck is held in from the corner of the house. This property line runs at a very slight angle to the house. So that setback accommodates our setback here for the deck, and we comply with everything. When we start looking at coverage, we have an existing 1-story separate garage, which adds a lot to the coverage. It's 272 square feet to the coverage that we're asking for. And I'm going to show you, the house is relatively modest. I think you can tell by the photographs. And again, the only place you would see the addition is in this back corner. When we look at the FAR is relatively high relative to the other houses in the neighborhood. We're looking for 0.49. If I go to my information here, on the FAR, we have 2150 allowed. The existing is at 1,948 square feet. We're proposing 2,458 square feet. And part of that FAR is there is a partially finished attic. And it is a space that's typically used, they're using it now for a couple of exercise machines. It's not really usable for anything else. And again, we're trying to add this new bedroom and the new family room. So we're 14% over allowable with our FAR. On the coverage, we're asking for 1,684 square feet. Now that is significantly over what's allowed, but we're really only asking for a 54 square foot increase over what is currently there. Because when we take off that big deck on the back and we add back the addition in the small deck, we're only asking for another 54 square feet on the coverage. And I'm hoping you will find that as modest as I do. We've gone through, I'm sure you've had a chance to look at all of the information here. Everything that I'm talking about is itemized on these diagrams and on these charts. In terms of the square footage, we are adding 3.3% to the coverage, and we're asking for 14.3% over allowable on the FAR.
How does that compare to other houses in the neighborhood?
give me 1 second. I'll go back to that chart. Here we go. Let's go here. Give me 1 second. 200. Go. Okay. Can you read this? You want me to make it a little bit larger?
Bigger
A
would
little
be
bigger,
great.
please.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me see what I can do for you. There we go. Is that readable?
Not really.
Go 400.
All right, let me go 400.
Set it to old.
We're going for, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, is that good? Okay,
Yes, thank you.
so if we take a look at coverage,
Okay.
we're asking for 134% coverage of what's allowable. And if you take a look, there are a number of properties here, 134, 137, 144, 171. There are a number of properties. I think we're kind of smack in the middle of where they are. We're a little bit larger than some, but we're smack in the middle of many of the other properties there. So I don't think we're pushing the envelope that much in terms of what we're asking for.
And that's for coverage.
That's for coverage, correct?
What about do you have any comparisons
Yes,
of
we're,
FAR?
we're going to go to FAR in 1 second.
Okay.
Keep clicking the wrong thing here, and I apologize for that. Okay, let me drag this back in over here, and let me blow this up. Actually, let me go to this slide. Okay. That's not what I want. Give me one. I'm sorry for that. I'm moving individual slides around on here instead of the whole thing. You know what? I'm going to go back to here and we're going to blow this up because I think it'll be easier to deal with. Okay. So here's our FAR. We are at the high end of FAR in the neighborhood. There is no question about that. We're asking for a 0.49%. The reasons that we're asking for that is what I was trying to explain when I was showing you the floor plan. There is a large amount of square footage in this house that is unusable for what I would consider to be day-to-day living. There is an extraordinarily large entry on this house that was put in about 50 years ago. And there is a third floor attic space, again, that's partially finished. It's not really usable for day-to-day living. So our FAR is high because we have hundreds of square feet that are not suitable for day-to-day living. And I believe that even with this high FAR, the house still maintains its modest character within the adjoining houses in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the transparency there, but I have to say at 0.49, you would be at the top, close to the top, but there are a lot in the 40s and high 30s there too. So
Right.
it's not.
You're
Sarah,
absolutely,
I caught that too.
Yeah.
But I was very much persuaded by the fact that he's not increasing the footprint.
Yes, me
of
too.
the building,
Yep. Yep.
Right? So
Yep.
he's
Yep.
going up.
Yep.
And
Yep.
not out.
Not out. Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that I view as a mitigating factor.
Yeah, me too. And also the fact that a lot of these, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
there's-
all of these houses are over on FAR,
Right.
every single one, and a lot of them are in the 40s, 30s is kind of the norm.
yeah,
Right.
This
You
would
know-
be towards the top of the 40s. Obviously, there are a couple in the 50s, but
right.
you're at the height, but not. I guess my point being, it doesn't seem like it would be totally out of character with the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And I agree with that as well. And it really went into the decisions we were making when we were doing the initial design. We actually talked with the next door neighbors when we were very early in the design process and asked them, you know, how they felt about us going back. And in the new wireframes that I've developed for the planning board, and I'm happy to send those to you, we went over to the house and we took photographs in their windows, and they said, "You're not going to affect anything in our house. We're just going to be looking at the side of this house. You know, the house that you're adding on to doesn't affect our views to the river, to anything else, and we're happy to have you be able to do that." When you get a neighbor who's happy to allow you to enlarge your house, that says to me we're hopefully doing a good job here.
Are there anybody who wants to be heard on this, Sarah? Nobody. Any other questions? Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve. I don't think this is out of character really with the neighborhood. Everybody's over on FAR. I think everybody's over on coverage, and this is in line with those numbers. Mid-ish, mid-high on FAR, but I don't think out of character. So I will make a motion to approve. If I have a second. Charles, second. And
I,
we'll
I
start-
really appreciate your time and especially coming
Oh,
in.
wait,
a
you're
night
not
like
approved
this.
yet.
Thank you.
We've got to vote. We've got to vote.
Oh, sorry.
Charles is an aye. Doug?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now you're approved.
Thank you
And I
again,
will
and
send you a letter by
seriously-
the end of the week.
Everybody get home safely.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.